It's a very quiet group.
Pause before the storm.
Yeah. Well, I hope not. My speech isn't a storm.
We're waiting for the question and answer, Renae.
Oh. Well, it's going to hopefully be an interactive group.
Let us begin. Good evening. Welcome, everyone, to the Onboarding New Members educational session. Renae Franke is our presenter. Renae has been a Toastmaster member since 2017 in the Brooks Avenue Toastmasters Club. She has held multiple officer positions. She's been a club president, secretary, and treasurer, and Area 41 director. Currently, Renae is the Division D director and the club's vice president of education. Besides being an officer, she is a mentor, a coach, and a member of the program quality committee. She's also hosted and presented training topics at club officer training. Through her Toastmaster journey, she has met a lot of amazing people. With the encouragement and support of other Toastmasters, she stepped outside her comfort zone to try something new. And that something new is leadership. In her personal life, Renae is employed at DigiKey Electronics as a senior logistics business intelligence analyst. This job and Toastmasters keeps her busy. However, she also serves on the parish council board, participates in the church choir, probably she's a bass, works part-time at a second job as a customer service manager, and spends time with family and friends. Tonight, Renae will speak about onboarding new members and the process behind it. Well, please welcome Renae Franke. Take it away.
Thank you, Bob, for that warm welcoming. Welcome, Toastmaster members. So as we go on our journey here and you've been attending some of our education sessions, you have learned what it takes to be a guest, recruiting new members. And I'm going to focus on tonight, actually, when you become a new member, the onboarding of the mentoring, and actually getting to when you complete that first level, that celebration. Now you joined Toastmasters. Now what? What was it like your first experience when you joined Toastmasters? Probably nervous, excited, lots of mixed feelings. Can I get a raise of hands? When you first joined, did you have a mentor right away? And if you had your mentor, did they onboard it? Did it guide you through what it takes to be in Toastmasters? See, I had a mentor that was assigned to me, but when I reached out to him right away, his response was, sorry, I'm too busy with work right now. I don't have time. And I struggled. I didn't say anything. It was a seasoned group. I felt like I got to step my game up. And I went in the room, into the Toastmasters, very warm, inviting, welcoming. And then all of a sudden I heard everyone giving these amazing speeches. And I got called on table topics. And of course I'm nervous going, please don't call on me. I was trying to step out of my comfort zone. But I was just lost. I didn't know where the schedules were at. I didn't know anything about Toastmaster International. And at the time, they had manuals. I was given 2 manuals and pretty much figure it out for yourself. So basically, I wasn't really onboarded. And by that second meeting, apparently I didn't know until I showed up for the meeting, saw the agenda in front of me, and saw that I was assigned as a timer role, and I had no knowledge of what that meant. And immediately that group showed their support, that encouragement, and said, don't worry about Renae, we'll help guide you in it. And immediately sat beside me and just helped me through learning the timer role. You said, even though sometimes your mentor that gets assigned to you, it's the whole group that can be your mentor at times. It could be the club officers. We're there to help, support, and encourage one another and create that safe space. So I'm going to take you into what it took for me to learn what it was to be better at onboarding new members and how important it is to have that true mentorship. Because you see, I really wanted to give up right away. And it took one person that asked me, how are you doing, Renae? And I said, I'm ready to throw in the towel and leave because I'm not getting any guidance. And he asked me who was my mentor, and I told him the struggles that I was having. And he goes, can I be your mentor? And that person, which some of you probably know, is Jason Leader, who became an Area 41 Director of the Year a couple years ago. And to be honest, he's no longer in Toastmasters, but he still checks in with me as my mentor to see how I'm doing and continues to keep encouraging me. So when you become joining Toastmasters, now what? You find out what that person's goals are. You go over what the club meeting rules are and show them what Pathways is about. Some people, Pathways can be intimidating. I mean, okay, raise your hands. When you first got into Pathways, were you lost? Did you just feel like overwhelmed? Or did it like come to you with a snap? Because I'm telling you, I struggled right away. And you're not alone. We're here to learn and continue to keep growing. And it's continual improvement and mentoring. Let me get back to the mentoring piece later on. You show them what leadership opportunities there are. And then you go into the next steps. But above all, show them that you're supportive and that you're engaged and what it takes to be a really true leader. When you ask them about what are your goals, for that new mentor or that new member that's just attending, ask them, what is it that you want to achieve in Toastmasters? What are you trying to get out of it? What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? You see, when I belong to Brooks Avenue Toastmaster Club, and the first thing that we do is when we do the new member induction, we have a mentor assigned to that person. We actually have a checklist to help that mentor to go through make sure you show them where the schedules are. Make sure you go into showing them of what each of the meeting roles are. And yes, you're going to do a lot of clapping, but that's a form of encouragement. You're going to do an icebreaker speech quite soon, but that's okay because it's about you. You're going to get an evaluation and you're going to learn and you're going to continue to keep growing. But you know what? Don't hear what I have to say. Try it. I encourage you. I inspire you. Go for it. So when you're a mentor, you're sitting down, you're going through their goals. You're asking, how can I help you? What are your short-term goals that you want to achieve? What are your long-term goals? And what are some of your stumbling blocks? And should we meet once a month, once a week? You determine that as that new mentee. Because after all, if the mentor is the one that's setting that up, they're kind of leading that cadence. And it really should be the new member that's doing it. They'll be more engaged. How can we support you as that mentor? how can we support you? As a club, how can we support you? As officers, how can we support you? The one thing that we've learned through Brooks Avenue is leaders build new leaders, right? Well, when you're a mentor and you're learning that for the first time, it can be intimidating. You're wondering if you're doing everything right, hence the checklist. But even that, some people will go rogue and go do their own little thing. We ended up having, just starting this past year, a mentoring support group so we can encourage new mentors and guide them on how to become mentors themselves and ask them, what are some of the struggles that you're running into? What are some of the challenges? Well, how can we all help each other? And we actually meet once a month, check in with each other. And some of the stories that they say are just, it's uplifting because they too see that spark of hope that you just gave somebody. You go through what the club meeting rules are. Each meeting has a unique set of responsibilities. I would encourage you, if you're bringing in new mentors, just like you are with guests, start those meetings with an explanation and description of what that meeting role is. Help them understand what they're about to get when they get that meeting role assigned to them. Let them educate others on it, and then lead by example. So let's go into some of these roles. A Toastmaster role. Honestly, a Toastmaster wears many hats. They're the congenial hosts. They try to keep it on schedule. You'll have an agenda. Usually your agenda will have some times for it all. You know what? As a new member coming in, you aren't paying attention to those times. You're just trying to it's clicking right along. But when you become that Toastmaster role, you want to make sure it starts on time and be respectful of everyone's time that they're there to end it on time. There's a bunch of resources. The Toastmaster wears many hats, Master Your Meetings, and Toastmaster of the Day script and logs. Again, at Brooks Avenue, we have a script to be able to try to help the new members right away of how to start for as the Toastmasters and how to do their handoffs, whether if it's on Zoom or whether it's face-to-face. The grammarian role. The grammarian role, you'll give word of the day, and you'll try to be able to capture some of their colorful words, the phrases, and basically explain to them what that grammarian really, how important that grammarian role really is. The ah counter, the favorite ah counter. That has been my hardest one. When I first started Toastmasters, I had no idea what my filler words were, but let me tell you, that first week when I got out of it, I definitely knew what they were, and it was the hardest thing to overcome. Yeah, I love my double clutches, and I definitely love my ahs, ums, and I'm still working on it, even years later. The timer roll. There's many different ways of doing a timer roll. You can have construction paper. You can have the background colors to it all. You can have the words even. It really is up to you. But there's mobile apps out there. There's timing cards. There's many different ways of being a good timer. Going into table topic speaker. Now that one's a fun one for me. That's impromptu speaking. The table topics, as you're explaining about it, that's when you got that entertainment, that enthusiastic. You're not there to try to stump the speaker. You're there to try to help them quick think on their feet for a minute or two. Going into the topics master, you're the one that actually is coming across with those table topics questions. The speaker role, as you get through your pathways, you'll be able to be that speaker going start with your icebreaker and all the way through your projects. your evaluator. Everyone for a speaker will have their evaluator. Explain that role to them and show them where they could be able to get that information from their speaker, how to help them get that evaluation form, and how to fill that form out. And the general evaluator role is you're working on is leading that team, the team of evaluators, the grammarians, O'Connor reports, and the timers. Now the Toastmaster Pathways Learning Experience. There's 11 unique paths. Educate them on those paths. Everyone, when you start into pathways, you're going to be given this assessment, but it's not necessarily, it's just a recommendation. It's not something that they have to take. If you show them what's in each one of those paths, let them decide what they want to do. There's dynamic leadership. Help show them what's the main skills build that are going to come out of dynamic leadership. And the additional skills that come with it, like strategic leadership and conflict resolutions. The same goes for effective coaching. Educate them as to what some of these skill sets that they're going to be able to obtain from that path. And the same goes for engaging humor. It's about public speaking and trying to get a better speech writing to it. Innovative planning, strategic leadership again, interpersonal communication, and you're going to also learn project management. Leadership development, again, strategic leadership, interpersonal communication, and public speaking. Go through each and every one of these paths with them so that the new member can make the right decision that will meet their needs and what they're trying to accomplish. After all, it's their journey, and you're there to try to help support them and onboard them. And as a mentor, to me, that's the greatest joy. Being that mentor, getting to know them, being that cheerleader when they need it, and help and encourage them to step out of the comfort zone when they need that. And guiding them along the way and knowing that you got their back. So that mentor might seem like it's nervousness right away, but as you get to know that person and mentor it, believe it or not, the mentorship starts going both ways. They mentor you and help you grow in your leadership role, just like you're helping them grow. And what you're doing is building them up to become a leader or a mentor themselves one day. Did you know when you accomplish your Pathways Level 2, when you complete that level, go back into it, because Toastmasters International on Pathways will open up a new program called Mentoring Program. And it will take you into a deeper dive as to what it is for a protege, what it is for a mentor, and advanced mentoring. And it really helps guide you on the mentoring path. It's not mandatory, it's optional. And then explain to the person that you're onboarding, the new member, what the leadership opportunities are. There's leaderships at the club level, at the area level, division, district, even region. Heck, let's go big to the Toastmaster International Board of Directors. There's many possibilities. And I know they might feel scared at first, but keep guiding them along the way. The developing leadership skills that they're going to get. In a club, there's the president, the vice president of education, a VP of membership, VP of public relations, secretary, treasurer, and sergeant of arms. Explain those roles to them so they have a better idea of, look, in order for it to be a successful club, you really need that strong leadership team, and that every one of those team members or officers matter. And having that strong team collaboration and communication. And then again, step out of the comfort zone, become an area director or a division director, or even 1 year, your district directors. Now it's for getting started. Start with your welcoming email to it all. Reach out to them. Introduce yourself to them. Get to know them. Get to know how you can be able to help them and support them. Show them where to be able to go on how to get into their profile if they ever need to change anything for us in Toastmaster International. Show them where the resources are in case you need to search for anything. And show them how to be able to log into Pathways. And you'll be surprised how many people are like, it's not working. And then they put in the wrong email compared to when they first started on their membership application form. And then let's begin as your first icebreaker. Introduce yourself. Let's get to know you. And the journey begins. And by all means, when you get through your first level 1, make sure to recognize that new member for that accomplishments and continue to recognize those members at each and every level that they've achieved. Within your Toastmasters club meetings, if you send out newsletters, make sure you recognize them there too. And when we get to what Brooks Avenue does is when we get to level 4s and 5s, because it's a little bit more advanced, we send it out to the Toastmaster member, congratulating them on it, a personal email, CCing their boss on it. This year we'll be having an annual banquet and recognizing all the awards and achievements on it. Do it a celebration, because it is a huge achievement that new member and all members have achieved throughout. In fact, the entire club has. And there's some swag, of course. Toastmaster has lots of swag out there on their store. And some of it, you can be able to get pins. You can be able to get ribbons even to showcase. And you can even print off their certificates on each level that they can be able to complete. And within Pathways, you can be able to provide, it's called the award feedback badges to others, or a path badge if you prefer. And it'll be like a little, like an internal within Pathways. They'll alert them to let them know that they've earned a badge, and you could write your kudos to them about it. But definitely go through what the club expectations are. If there's Toastmaster etiquette, meaning if you're up at the lectern, you kind of stay at the lectern until you introduce the next person and you wait till they come up and then you do the handoff. The same would be for a Zoom as you're welcoming in, like how Bob welcomed me into this one. It's the handoffs that go back and forth. Basically, how do you communicate? Let them know that if you have an internal, if you're a closed club, let them know that you have, if you have an internal site that you have for your Toastmaster club or an external site. Maybe you have a Facebook page, some social media or LinkedIn, or even internal or external newsletters. So I'm going to open it up to Q&A. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Hi, this is Bob Reitmeyer. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Have you ever had a member that you were working with, a new member, a brand new member, maybe doesn't have extensive education, and you turn to them and say, what are your goals? And they say, what is a goal? Now, you might think that's kind of funny.
It's challenging.
When I first joined Toastmasters, I joined because I was told it was fun. And if they had approached me on goals, I wouldn't have had a clue what they were talking about. Now,
so I would ask them, what are you trying to get out of Toastmasters? There's something that brought you there in the first place.
And I would have said something about socializing, because one of the things that brought me to Toastmasters was after the meeting, they'd get together and drink beer.
Seriously?
No,
Well,
seriously, the meeting was a meal meeting with people that I wanted to get to know. And then afterwards, when I never learned goals until about 6 months later, when the Secretary Treasurer moved on because of job, and I was convinced by the district governor to take on the role of Secretary Treasurer. And understand, I'm 6 months into it. And I said no, and I said no, and he said, well, I have private airplanes and we fly to meetings. And so if we met 200 or 300 miles away, we would get in his Cessna 210, 310, or 421, and we'd fly to the meeting. And at that point, I would do anything to get on a plane that I didn't have to pay for.
Wow, that's an incentive, that's for sure.
Well,
I don't know how many other clubs are like that.
Needless to say, 1 year later, because I worked almost every Saturday with the district governor trying to work on the district plan, I knew what planning was. And I still think and of course, 7 years, 8 years later, that put me in a position in my organization where I was able to move up very quickly.
Nice. It is about connecting and networking. It really is. I mean, I know today's world is connecting, networking, and if it's not in clubs, then it's on LinkedIn or Facebook or any social media platform. But you're right, Bob. It's about networking, whether if it's a closed club or open club, because you feed off of each other. You learn from each other. You learn different techniques, but you also are there to kind of help support each other. And, but it's also finding a common ground that you have too. Interesting. Do you have a question, Carl?
I have a question. You are in a closed club. You are a corporate club. Your communications, I know with a lot of closed clubs, you've got internal emails, you've got little things you can do. For those community clubs, I would love to see a show of hands. How many people are utilizing a website or doing it through something like that to communicate with their members? Free Toast Host or something else?
I think Kelly did like a meetup a couple months ago, kind of educating everybody if they wanted to learn a little bit about the meetup platform.
Well, it's Free Toast Host. I know it's difficult because we have to get people to sign up to be able to put them on the agenda, to do those things too. And it's frustrating at sometimes too. So having that mentor can help too. Yes.
Yep. And the whole point is when you have that mentor, it's to try to help them get that really good experience and guiding them through it so that you're setting them to succeed is really what it is. But I know sometimes people will be like, look, I got to get you through these education projects as fast as you can. And everybody's on their own journey to it all. Some people will be like, look, I'm not ready to take on a meeting role. I'm just really intimidated by it all. As a mentor, you step in and you're just like, hey, let's do this together. I'll take it today. You can just observe. I've seen both ways where I'll take it, you can just observe, and then I'll kind of help guide you through it all. And then let's you try it next week. And then I'll help guide you through it all and see how it, like for example, a timer and seeing how to do the timer pad. I've seen it like that. I've also seen where some people will sit down, talk to them, explain to them all, and they're like, yep, got it. So when you get to know that person, you'll get to know their styles and what works for them. And some people are like, show me it or give me a pamphlet on it all and I'll take it. Some people are like, nope, hold my hand and help guide me. It's different dynamics. And that's the whole point of that mentoring, is to get to know what works best for them.
Yeah, I'm a pusher. So I like to get them to start to commit to giving that first icebreaker. No, not the next meeting, but let's look at, can we look at, the second meeting in May now, or do something like that. I look to get that commitment. I think once they make it, they get into things a little bit better.
Yep.
I'll be quiet.
You're okay. Wes, did you have something?
I did, Renae. I appreciated your section about club culture and the importance of developing club culture and making sure everybody understands, what that culture is and really kind of fits into that culture. And I think anybody who's been part of a big organization can understand the importance of that and has probably experienced that firsthand. I know one of the things that I think our club, High Energy Toastmasters, does or really strives to do as part of our culture is really making every single guest feel like they're the most important person in the meeting and really overdoing it to a sense, right? To the point where it's almost awkward, but not awkward, And then the second thing is making every new member feel like they're the most important member of the club. And that's a cultural thing that I think our club does really well. And that's something that everyone does. And they pick up on it as they come in. They see it, and then they just naturally kind of fall in and start doing it when they see new members and guests come too. And it's kind of phenomenal how well it works. So I just wanted to share that. And I don't know if you have any other examples or any other ideas on strong club culture or things that you can do to create a strong club culture.
Well, there is some things for us that club culture that Brooks does is we circle back with that. We've had to learn the hard way is that we circle back with that new member. We give it about a good month. And as officers, we'll start reaching out our VP of membership, depending on how many people came in all of a sudden, but we'll reach back out to them to kind of go, hey, how's it going, by the way? Are you needing any help? Things going all right? And we're like, great. You know what? We're not here to step on the toes of your mentor. We're just checking in because we've found out sometimes in the past that the mentor that we signed them to thinking that things were going fine and only to find out the mentor went MIA on them. And they're just left floundering and they're just frustrated and they just want to give up. And by us reaching out to them to show, hey, we do care and we want to try to set you up for success. And then we'll reach out to the mentor going, hey, what's going on here? And they'll be like, oh, I'm too busy. Well, then we'll reassign that person immediately to a new mentor. But there are some times where they are engaged with their mentor and it's just not clicking. And when it doesn't click, then that mentor or that mentee is still struggling. And so it's like, you know what? I'll give you your get out of jail pass for free. It's one of those of you don't have to stick with that mentor. The whole point is it's if they got to know them like at DigiKey. You get to know them because you're working in that same environment or the same department or that same area where you're familiar with them and they don't feel so scared. But there are times where it just doesn't work and we have no problem to say, let's try a different one. And just to kind of keep encouraging them and keep supporting on it all. So definitely club culture. Lori, I see that you have your hand up.
Sorry, no, that was me raising my hand saying we had the website.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Just a quick follow-up to that response, Renae, if I may. You say you reach out to the mentors, which I love. I think that level of engagement from officers is amazing. I'm assuming it's officers that are actually doing that reaching out. Do you find that that's intimidating for some officers being assigned that task? And how do you determine which officer is going to be reaching out and having conversations? And I'm just curious what your experience has been with the club. Because I know that certain people have different levels of comfort when it comes to call it confrontation, maybe, for lack of better terms.
Right. We sometimes will just, the VP of membership, we have two sessions going on. So we have junior officers and we have senior officers. So the VP of membership team responds out and sends an email. and go, hey, just checking in, seeing how things are going. Do you have any questions? Is there anything that I can do to help? And sometimes they'll respond and go, everything's great. Love my mentor. Thanks for checking in. And then that's it. And sometimes they'll say, I don't know who my mentor is because they haven't even reached out to me. And those are the ones you drill deep in and like, hey, can I set up a meeting with you? And let's just talk about it. What's going on? How can I help? Now, there were times where we had a huge group of people. Like, I think we got like 20 people at one. This is before COVID kind of, but like 20 people that all of a sudden are all new members. And we're like, how in the world are we going to send mentors when they're so stretched in the first place to the new members? But you want to have that new growth going. And it really, some didn't, some struggled at it. And that's when we started realizing, look, we got to have support groups. We got to have a support group for the new mentors because it was a lot of them. But we also circled back to all of the mentees, all the new members, and we had them sit together in a room. And it was amazing because then they started sharing stories. Well, did you know my mentor? He reaches out to me or she reaches out to me. She sits down with me. She takes the time. You'll hear that I'm engaged. I'm committed. And they'll feed off it and going, wait, my mentor doesn't do that. Well, why aren't you asking your mentor to why aren't you doing that? And so it makes them kind of step up in their A game to kind of thing, to some degree of each other helping one another out. So you're right. You have to be careful because you don't want to cause a wedge between the mentor and the mentee. You really don't. You want to show that you're there to help support them. And then sometimes we've had some that just like, I had enough and I'm walking away. We ended up following up with an exit survey to them, kept it anonymous and say, hey, we're a club that we really want to continue to keep growing. And in order for us to keep growing, it's about feedback. And we really would appreciate your open and honest feedback. And then what we did was took that information and share that back to our Toastmaster executive team to help them to learn from it all. So that we can be able to go, okay, maybe that mentor is struggling and maybe we should have like a grand.
Can I whip you? Oh,
Hi,
sorry.
Sue.
Sorry.
Do you have a question, Sue?
I have something that got the cat dumped on the floor. I was going to mention something. So I was kind of waiting for the break in the, so anyway, I will. I just wanted to mention one of the things we've done to get to know members better is to have a social every month where, even because we're meeting on Zoom every Friday, we have still made it a point to get together socially once a month. And I think that has created some helpful relationships and comfort to speak to each other. We just get to find out what other people do outside of Toastmasters. And I think that has kept our group healthy.
I think the encouragement and the support are two key things right there. Continue to kind of be engaged and be committed and be there for them. And then be there for one another. I mean, let's face it, what is leadership? Up, down, side to side. And when you're going side to side, that's you working side by side with someone as an officer, as your mentors, and help supporting one another. In my eyes, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but yes. Michelle, I'm going to put you on the spot since I know you're from Brooks Avenue. Will you explain to people what a grand mentor is?
Well, thank you for that question, Renae. Well, that's so funny. So I have a mentor named Marilyn, and my mentee, her name is Tiffany, and she calls my mentor her grand mentor. So it's just a joke. So if my mentee can't get a hold of me, I told her to get in touch with her grand mentor, Marilyn. So it's just kind of a running joke. It's really funny. Thanks, Renae.
But do you want to explain to what's happened just recently with Angie and what we're trying to test out with some of the mentorship program, what she's trying to do?
Oh yeah, so Angie, so right now I am the actual senior officer club president, and Angie is our junior officer club president, and that she's in a role that she's held for quite a few, at least 2 or 3 years, I think, maybe even 4. I'm not quite sure, but she has about 3 mentees, and they all work in the same department. And so what she's maybe suggesting, we're trying out, is since they all go on break together, they're all in the same department, is maybe kind of having them be co-mentors to the new girl. And so we haven't really heard much feedback about it because it just really started, but that's one way of, I think she's still like the mentor, but kind of opening it up for the other 2 that she is mentoring to learn the actual roles of being a mentor, but ultimately she is the mentor, and then she's just helping them guide the new one on processes. And sometimes it's easier to get a hold of the people who you work with because you work right next to them if you have any questions. I think they work different hours too, but than Angie. So is that what you were looking for, Renae?
Yeah. Where it becomes almost like a little team that she's kind of helped teaching the new mentees that she's been mentoring to become mentees themselves, or mentors themselves, and how they're supporting one another on that. Yep. Thank you, Michelle. Sorry for putting you on the spot. You knew I was.
I know. I was waiting for it. Thank you, Renae.
Yes. Does anyone have any other questions? So there is one more thing I wanted to show you. And being on, I'll share my screen. Being on the program quality subcommittee with Wes and Bianca and Hagen, and yes, we had created a document. And the document is for a new members onboarding guide. And it's just a guide. And it kind of goes into how to help, different tips and tricks about onboarding new members. From the, just welcoming the guests to recruiting them. It goes step by step right along into it. Granted, I know I kind of dive right in the middle of this for this presentation tonight, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Wes, I think Bianca is going to be working with Shelley to kind of put it on the District 78 website, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we want to get posted out on the website so it's available to everybody, and then we'd like to start advertising it. So yeah, thank you for mentioning this, Renae. You guys did a fantastic job collaborating around this and getting it put together this year. And quite frankly, it's one of the things that I'm more proud of this year. So great job.
Thank you. And then at the so it takes you on a deep dive of everything step by step. Sorry, I'm going to be scrolling pretty fast through this. But on the appendix side, it also gives you some resources to be able to look for to help you out. Like here's a link to be able to help you with meeting rules and explaining it. Here's a sample template to help you out if you need to be able to do a meeting agenda. Again, another one for is your meeting rules and your responsibilities. Guest packets. I know we had just recently this previous meeting regarding secrets from thriving clubs. Laura had posted some information on guest packets also in there. And even a welcome kit. And now keep in mind the guest packet, you can purchase it from the TI store, but there's also a digital download one to it too. That's also in here. Yeah, I was really grateful that Bianca kind of put her magic on it and spoofed it up for me. But definitely, I'm sure the word will come out at some point when it guns on the district website to it all. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure announce it at every opportunity that we can get.
Sure. Does anyone have any other questions, or I could do the stop sharing, I guess.
I have one that's just totally unrelated, but that reminded me, how do we find out the status of district bucks? I know there's incentives on the 78 website. And
so you would like to know how many you've already achieved this year, or that you?
Well, I think we should have received district bucks. Do you know what that is? Yeah. It's like dollars to purchase something out of the Toastmasters store.
For like an incentive that you achieved like recently or last year or something?
Recently, the dues, getting all the dues paid by a certain time.
I'll let Carl answer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know how that's.
Right, yeah, right now, if you're a club officer, you know, basically TI has shut itself down. The store, everything else. So we'll be working on those in May. We're getting through the conference. We still have a lot from even last fall to get through, but it's, if you know, the TI store has kind of been a mess for a number of years. So we are working through it. So I just ask patience there, Sue.
I mean, who would notify us that, you know, we're eligible, or, I mean,
okay, yeah, we'll go through, because there may be questions because you don't always get all the information. You know, we may have to go to the club to get that information. On the TI dashboard, it'll say, you know, club has paid their dues and what day they became their dues were there, but it doesn't always tell us how many were there. You could have turned in 8 and it said you were a club in good standing. So we're still working through final details.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, folks, as a moderator, are we about time to wrap this up?
I think so, unless anyone else has any other questions. Great questions tonight, everyone. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Renae.
Great job, Renae.
This tonight. Let's give her a round of applause. And thank you for attending tonight's educational session, Onboarding New Members. Do not forget, there is a program scheduled. There are programs scheduled for tomorrow night, starting at 5 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time, including a happy hour, opening keynote, welcome and community leadership award, and of course, hospitality night. The hospitality room this evening will be opening in a few minutes. Please join, I believe, Laura Lobo and other Toastmasters and guests from across District 78 for a fun-filled session of Night Owls karaoke. Am I correct? I believe I am. And my instructions were to participate. You can register under the meetups in the community section of the conference website. So if there is anything else left for the good of the order, if not, I'll go ahead and close this session out. Anything else at this time?
Thanks, Bob.
Oh, you want to stop the recording though? I don't know if that will.